All right, folks, we're back. Hello, and welcome to the other semifinals of Stats versus Zest. Big thank you to Daxter33 for the 10-month resub. Not sure if we got that earlier. Let's get that caught up now. Cheers to you, sir. Countdown does begin. We'll hop into Belshire. We'll see you guys here in not just a moment. Zombie Grub is listed as a player because Crank is a really good lobby host. Lol. That's just, yeah, had to get players back in. So Stats versus Zest. We'll do the intro for this, but just to quickly note, well, I'll say it once again. We'll see you guys soon. Okay, we're back, and I was just going to mention, again, time has been a real big issue for me on this cast. It is currently 6:34 a.m., meaning likely at the end of this series, I'm going to have to take like a fairly large AFK. Well, the funny thing is, like, it only takes 5 minutes, but it is a point of, like, I have to meet my dad outside my apartment building when he comes to drop off my new credit cards. Because, again, they're tied to my old address, not my new address. So, not something I can afford to miss. I'm hoping it won't actually interfere with the game, and I'm hoping it's something we can just, like, camera control the zombie grub for. But anyways, top left, probe doesn't stay at home. Oh, man, it's Zest!
Whoa.
Woo!
Huh. Alright, well, in the bottom right is the red Protoss. It is Stats.
I feel like this is one of those if you can't beat him, join him moments. But also, Stats lost to this earlier, and I don't know if Zest knows this. He talked to Classic. Maybe he happened to catch the stream. But the point is, Stats lost on Belshire earlier to a Cannon Rush, and it looks like he's going to do it again.
It's pretty much the exact same thing. Same positions, similar pylon placement. Second probe is put in a lot earlier and is kind of a fake scout. Oh wait, no, it wasn't his probe. Just kidding. No, it was, yeah. Whoa, I was really confused for a second. Yeah, second probe is used as a fake scout. It's actually harassing in the mineral line right now. And the cannon is placed down a little bit farther away, but now Stats is like, wait a second.
You know, it's not just that it's a fake scout. It is also that backup probe. Like, yeah. For inevitably, one will most likely go down. But they're going to attack some of the Nexus. I mean, the problem is that mothership core is so far from coming out. The pylon overcharge, as we saw last game, by the way, the pylon overcharge is actually freaking sweet. It can kill cannons like nobody's business. But Zest didn't put a second pylon down up in the front. He went for cannons immediately. So these are in range of everything they need to be in range of.
Yeah. I mean, Stats even tries to get a Zealot again, like, but it's not doing anything again.
I was really hoping that this would be different. Like, Stats would show us that, oh, that first game was a fluke, right? I'll shut this down. Not targeting the probes. He's going straight for the cannon, but the cannon's already killing that pylon. Oh, one more shot. Are you serious? 1 health on the pylon.
Oh, you just tap with the probe, man.
Well, I can't really get in there. He'll die. But, like, had he pre-tapped it with the probe, right? Like,
hey, there you go.
This is actually looking a little bit scary, to be honest. You can't seem to get new cannons up. One of the probes is already gone.
What?
There's no pylon to advance the line. I mean, he's going to kill a gateway, but Stats may have actually held, despite everything we were saying.
You might have. He's going to have 3 Stalkers, a Zealot, and a Mothership core, and any amount of probes he would like to bring with him. He probably shouldn't.
He's got breathing room. Like, wait out the overcharge. The overcharge outranges the cannons, right? So, like, get the overcharge, time out with that. The Nexus might get a little bit low, but going in too early could cost him his units. Oh, this is kind of worrisome.
Focus fire the Stalkers, too.
Oh my god, that Stalker's so low.
Yeah, not bad micro from either side, but Zest ends up getting the bit better end of it.
Well, so here's why I don't like this. That trade for units should have gone down on the left cannon, not the right cannon, because I don't think that left cannon is in range of the pylon overcharge.
Right. I think that's exactly the case. Well, Stats is still managing to get Warp Gate. He has placed on a proxy pylon. That Warp Gate's only, like, not even halfway done.
I love
Does clean up the pylon. Cannons, there we go.
Micro control out of Stats was really sick there, but Zest was target firing down the low Stalkers as well. Like, oh, it was so cool.
Now, generally, if you hold against a Cannon Rush, you're gonna win. And I think Stats will win, but this is like a bit more complicated, I suppose, because Zest managed to almost He's not matching on Warp Gate, but he's really not that far behind either with the Chrono Boost going into it. It's just his army count is clearly non-existent, so he's got to maybe even invest into a cannon.
Yo, what's kind of cool though, actually, for stats is if he can't break up this ramp, he's better off containing and just using this Nexus to get ahead. So what I'd love to see out of stats next would be like just a force field, like 1 sentry, just something to keep Zest from moving down the ramp.
Stats is looking everywhere.
I know. I love that the map like instantly explodes with scouting.
You gotta though. I'm surprised. Like the times we've seen cannon rushes in the past couple days, and we've seen 3 now in the past like week. The follow-up was not Stargate. It was an attempted macro.
We should note, by the way, that cannon rushing has looked hilarious over the last few casts that we've seen it work, right? VSL, now here with the Olimoleague. But the point is, like, if that probe happens to realize what's going on, like, if Stats gets wind of this any sooner by accident, or like the fog of war isn't handled perfectly, then the cannon rush actually ends up failing really badly, with or without this level of intensity for defense. But Stats... Granted, a lot of his units are almost dead, but he held on at the end of the day. He's on 22 army supply. It's 10 stalkers to 2.
This is exactly how Classic followed up his cannon rush versus Zest on this map, too. Like, I feel like Zest... He actually won that game, if you recall, right? Zest versus Classic. That's when Classic started to get reverse killed. Yeah. Was when he tried to cannon rush. But I feel like Zest like saw that anyways and was like, you know, that's kind of cheeky. You know, if I didn't scout that probe, I would have lost. Can you tell me your build? Because he's doing the exact same thing. Cannon rush into the disruptor drops. I mean, there's really not many other choices aside from that also proxy Stargate. But obviously Stats would have been prepared for that.
So this is where the disruptor comes into question pretty heavily, right? Without Blink being down, it's not going to be easy to catch. But should he be out of position even once, the stalkers volley down. And hell, it's not even the Warp Prism, but the Disruptor itself might die.
Oh, it's dangerous, but it is the Hail Mary way to get back into the game. Oracle might have faked out stats, so the Disruptor will be a surprise, but I think his splits would still be good enough, honestly. Like, he'd really have to not be looking to lose this army to a Disruptor. And Zest is actually the one that's pulled to the main base because of a single adept. Boy, I hope one cannon can hold.
Oh, I didn't realize that there's a little bit of damage going on the backside here. Not hitting the probes, though, awkwardly enough.
Why you kill it?
Why you do this? Looks like the Disruptor also got a shot off story while we're looking up in the top left. I feel like those for stats. The funny thing is what's really restricting was high ground visions. Now that the Observer's caught up with the army, he can start focusing down that cannon from the ground. I think he knew that if he went up the ramp, he would get force fielded inevitably. Without Blink, that would have only gone badly. But force fields can be used now against Zest. He does catch the Immortal. He'll catch the entire army. There's 3 probes with this, too. This is he cast out a net and got the biggest catch of his life.
Yeah, that's probably game right there. Zest can't make up for army and probes at this point, even though he's still at his up going along. He's gonna get the other sentries. At least force out the force fields, so they're not even useful.
It kills the sentries, too, though.
Very nice. Gets that last stalker. Nope. Barely.
Yeah, there's been a lot of 1 health units in many of the series today. So point that out. No Guardian Shield's a little bit funny, but I guess not totally necessary. No Disruptor. Oh, he's got to be careful of that Disruptor.
Well, Zest is messing up on multiple fronts here. He missed both overcharges, really.
Yeah, the Mothership Force got energy. That definitely feels wasted.
This is weird.
Now his gateway's so depowered. This is all kinds of weird and awkward, but GG.
GG.
Okay. Stats holds, he counters, and he does win. Maybe not the smoothest game out of either player, but still, ultimately, what matters at the end of the day, Stats up 1-0.
Good try, Zest.
A for effort. Okay, whatever silliness aside from what we just witnessed, right? Coming into this, like, Zest has had just weird online performance lately, and I wonder if things like those cannon rushes are pre-planned. You're like, yes, this is something I've practiced and I want to do. Or if this is like, man, I'm going up against Stats. This guy is actually so much better than me. Like, this is the only thing I can do. Like, I'm wondering which of those things, or which of those sides, I guess, Zest is leaning more towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to know where Zest's mental state is at right now, because I feel like he's also not happy with his lack of dominance. He's got to recognize he's not doing so well. But he's also Zest, so maybe he just is like, I'm amazing.
Yeah, I imagine Zest is more the type of guy to like shake it off. Like he did that one day of streaming or whatever, right? And like anytime he lost, it was like it really didn't seem like it made a big deal at all.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be on Newkirk next.
Mm-hmm. I got the intro already queued up and good to go.
Okay, then we just have to wait, you know, a minute for Crank to get the lobby set up.
Yeah, and hopefully put the players in the player slots.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
All right, so Newkirk coming up, guys. As soon as I get going.
Protoss.
I don't know, dude. Maybe Zest is pulling a Scarlet. He wants to play Terran. Alright, well, there we go. Now it's Protoss versus Protoss. Nice. He was hoping to proxy 3 racks and catch stats.
Oh, he ruined it.
Yeah, we pointed it out. We threw the game for him. Feels bad. All right, Newkirk Precinct. See you guys soon. All right, welcome back. Game number 2 in the semifinals. Quick reminder that the winner of this will go on to fight against Billowy in a best-of-5 PvP grand final. So I hope you guys like PvP. In the bottom right, playing for Splice, it's going to be the blue Protoss stats.
In the bottom left is the red Protoss. He is Zest.
And I don't have to do a big BRB, but I got to be back 1 second.
Okay. Is this Zest or Maynard? Is Maynard Cannon Rush a lot? Or that was on the Disruptors. I'm sure. Zest actually has better PvP. He doesn't just rely on Cannon Rushes, and in fact, he didn't rely on Cannon Rushes versus Classic. He just did pretty solid macro games. But unfortunately, I think like it is the case that if you're gonna depend on your macro at one point in time, Zest might have been the one that you gave the preference to. Like Zest has the best macro ever. Stats now probably is the best macro Protoss in the world, so gonna be a tough game. Stats has seemingly preferred to go for all ins on this map though. That's what he did versus Classic, the very first series of the day. And it did work out pretty well, despite initially not looking so hot. I'm really surprised if he threw it out towards Zest here again, too, because it's just a decent build, really.
My bad. Sorry about that.
Oh. Both going gateway openers. Nothing too shocking here.
So where do you lean then, in terms of thinking this would be all-in versus not all-in for one of these guys? Since we were just talking about it.
Yeah, I just said that stats. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried it again on Newkirk. I feel like people have specific ways to play on Newkirk, and they just like doing that. But it could be dependent on what he scouts. We have a bit of a difference here right now. Stalkers versus Adepts. Zest is planning on taking the next. I mean, so is Stats, of course, Nexus eventually. But Zest already preparing that pylon at the front. Could be a very important lack of pylon on the back if Stats had gone for a Stargate. That's not the case.
Yeah, actually really interesting not to see Stargate play at all.
Oh, well, okay, speak of the devil.
There you go. I think a big part of like why I think it's just the map is good for it. You've got all that open airspace. And like, yeah, PvP doesn't necessarily have to revolve around Stargates. I think it's always cool to take advantage of maps. But Pylon blocks the natural. Zest blocks the main. No scouts for you, so he's not going to actually get to see that it's a Stargate. But at the same time, like, your suspicion goes through the roof. You're like, why did you put so much effort into denying the scout? Like, what's that? Like, methinks the lady doth protest too much, but with scouting?
Yeah, I think he's already going to be suspicious just on the Nexus timing as well, because he blocked out the pylon. If there wasn't already a Stargate on the way, there had to be one or something going on in the main base, but everything combined, Stats is getting leads, and Zest will need to do damage to this Oracle. Robo on the way. Sentry's already on the way.
I don't know if the Oracle's got a lot of potential to do damage, though. Not only are the pylons set up very nicely here, and of course 1 or 2 overcharges, but you've also got the Stalkers.
Yeah. Oracle shouldn't do much.
Zest might, like, his best bet here would either be waiting for a second Oracle or just waiting for stats to become complacent. Like one of those things where you're like, okay, well, the Oracle should have passed by now, so I'll just leave my base since he's not. And then, boom, that's the perfect time to hit.
Yeah. Sometimes it does seem better. This is really just gonna have to turn him right around and just chill out anyways. That's already transferring over into what it looks to be like more normal PvP structures. As the Stargate doesn't usually have a lasting effect. You don't go into Phoenixes more than 5. You don't go into Void Rays most of the time. Although, I guess lately there have been a lot of Void Ray plays. Not what Zest is going to do here. He's got a Forge on the way, even, and a Robo. Stats has a War Prism, though, and could provide actually decent damage, more so than this Oracle's doing. It's being denied on every front.
Yeah. Whether it's, maybe this Oracle actually does 0 damage whatsoever. There's still a lot of value in Revelation, like tagging this War Prism, for example. So it's not like Zest Oracle is totally worthless, but unfortunately, oh, this is interesting. He might have chosen to not cast Revelation to try and get home and put down some stasis traps instead. If that was his intention, I actually like this a lot.
That would be pretty cool. I'm not sure he's gonna have enough time to place on a stasis trap. Oh, he puts it in the... Oh, okay. That's actually very cool. He knows exactly what Stats was planning to go to.
Well, Stats also kind of predicting what Zest was up to with that defense. So, Revelation does get cast. Not enough energy for another one. That one Stalker is kind of destined to die. There's no blink out of the base.
You could maybe save it.
Maybe. I don't know.
You could totally save it.
Is it worth it, though? Like, you're risking a lot of Stalker damage on that War Prism.
Well, now I don't think he should. Oh, but he still tries it. It does it.
Impressive.
It is. So Stats, I mean, he's deflected, though. Like, he doesn't do damage with this, as clever and cool as his techniques are. And he does start falling behind in upgrades. I don't know about a double forge to make up for those. Like, that never seems useful in PvP.
No, not that influential either, but we'll see. By the way, thank you to Napacom for the 25-month resub. Hey. I
don't... Okay, I was gonna say, this has to be... Well, I still want the second one finished. It's definitely not a mistake. Like, he also got a Twilight Council, so it wasn't like, oh, I made 2 forges by accident, meaning to make a Twilight Council or a Robo, because he's had a Robo, but... I really... He immediately gets +1. Alright, so it's double forge.
Aw. I was gonna open that be for shields and not armor.
Shields is so expensive.
Overcharge almost gets the Oracle. That would have been nice.
He's getting really quick Templar Archives, so I'm kind of with you. If he's going to turn into Archons, I wouldn't have minded investing in shields.
Well, plus it helps the buildings. Like, it's just like it's a more all-around upgrade. But okay, we do have Immortals coming into the base, and the overcharges have already been exhausted, so, that may have been like Zest not failing with the Oracle, but using it as the biggest distraction, the biggest bait. The Stalkers are going to try and get on top of this. It's already really annoying. Zest does pull out of this, but the probes are pulled. Pylon died, and this could have gotten really bad, frankly.
The 1-1 Adept all in here that looks to be getting set up, although Stats doesn't have enough to get a Nexus. Like, it's blowing my mind, man. And whatever excess gas he has, because Adepts cost gas, not too many of them, and go into those High Templars. This is cool, and I feel like Zest, if he had seen the double forge, he, obviously very good player, probably plays a lot of PvPs on ladder, would probably know what it is, but he hasn't. He's only seen 1 forge. And the lack of a third is well, the third actually goes down right now, but his third wasn't too much earlier, and I'm not sure Zest could tell what is happening right now based on what he's seen. He also has seen the Templar Archives, I think.
Well, his
armor supply is still better.
And he's technically got the upgrade, but it's gonna disappear here in just a moment. Again, armor, Archons, 10 health. That armor's not gonna matter for jack squat.
I guess Stats isn't gonna go for an all-in. Like, he did get up to 45 probes here, and probably would start producing probes if he could deflect this attack. But it's gonna cancel his Nexus.
And that's pretty nice. Of course, he's not done just yet himself, but this is that lead. Now, as this advances forward, though, it's worth noting that those Archons are going to be so sweet against those Immortals. But at the end of the day, more army is still just going to be better.
What a weird response. It's not really working out so well, though, it seems. Like, the double upgrades combined with a huge swell of Adepts, I thought it'd look actually a lot like the Stats versus Classic game, just with better upgrades.
I'm still really wondering about the double upgrades, too. Again, part of this is, like, because he's going to Archons, I don't like the armor, but more to the point that I don't see this being that big of an influence unless they actually get to play passive, right? And both of them max out and they're sitting on a great army on each side. Then yeah, Double Forge ends up being great. Excuse me. But the likelihood of that is not, I don't think very likely, frankly. I hate allergy season. I hate summer.
I would hate having allergies too if I had them.
I got really bad during DreamHack last year. I'm actually praying. Like, I've recently become religious just so I can pray effectively that they don't happen again like that. I'm like, dear flying spaghetti monster, please.
Wow, catches some transferring probes. That's a nice find for this Oracle. It's supposed to have been useless. Oh, okay.
Okay, well, I'm surprised the feedback actually worked. But he actually got one of the Templar too, which was really nice. That is not a cheap unit to lose. It's like, what, 150 gas?
I mean, yeah, that's 150 gas. I feel like I wouldn't have thought about feedbacking an Oracle. I would have just like derped really hard. So it kind of shocked me.
Well, it's funny because we've talked about it like being used for Phoenix, but it actually makes more sense using some Oracle, right?
Yeah. So Stats doesn't. He's never had an army supply advantage, which I thought he would. He never did. And he's down 15 probes now. This is actually an all-in. But I feel like he could do enough damage to make it an even game again, that he could macro out of this. Feedbacking the sentries is really cool. I was going to talk about looking for the Mothership Core, but okay. There's still a lot more sentries, a lot more force fields.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Stats actually could have broken a lot of the force fields that were trapping him in there with that Archon instead of derping in the back of the army. I think there's some miscontrol that's certainly contributing to this fight going badly for him. And that Double Forge not helping in this situation. Numbers, as we said, are going to win out. And that Archon, yeah, it soaks a lot of hits, but ultimately, GG, Zest wins. Also, on the topic of Double Forge, because this was brought up in chat, I do want to point out something. We've actually been casting PvPs for so long. We had a PvP-only tournament, too, where we actually got to specifically see a lot of games where it was upgrades as the focus out of players like Hearthstone versus non-upgrades out of people like Neeb. And, like, I want to say every single game except for one out of like 16 or 20, the upgrades actually mattered. So when we see a Double Forge in a game like that, it's not that like, oh, these casters don't know the meta, we don't know what's going on. It's like we've seen it be not effective. So the question would be like, why is it part of the meta if it is? You know?
Yeah, why is that of all things becoming the new meta? Which I also like, you know, I just don't know if it is or is not. Because if one person does it, it doesn't. I'm
personally of the opinion that the person who brought this up in chat is just wrong, but on the chance that I am wrong, that question still gets made where I'm like, why is it the meta? Because we've seen it be ineffective more than we've seen it be effective.
Well, yeah. And so far, apparently, we've just seen it from stats, and one person does it's on the meta, it's unique. Because, like, Bunny isn't setting any new meta by making a Cyclone after his 2 medevacs, right? in TVZ. But yeah. I don't know enough.
Well, either way, I guess we'll go to a small commercial break. We'll see you guys in 2 minutes. Game 3 to decide who goes into the finals when we return. All right, we're back, and we're actually in the lobby for Game 3. It is a Bizzle Reef. I've got the intro queued up so we can sing some tunes. I don't know. Just spam AC in chat. That's what the emote exists for. We'll see you guys soon.
The Vespine is always greener in somebody else's base. You dream about blowing up theirs, but they have a real good race. Just look at the map around you, right here on Abyssal Reef. As ultras and links surround you, so make like a tree and leave. Under the sea, typing GG. Darling, it's better typing those letters, take it from me.
Well, we get to start off Game 3 with a brand new sub, so thank you, Bort_, joining us here in the Base Trade Brigade. Spawning in the top left. Things are tied up on a 1-1. Playing for Splice, it's going to be the Red Protoss Stats.
Oh, God. Bottom right. This blue Protoss, he is Zest. I don't know if you heard that, but the thingy hit the pop filter.
I thought you were OGodding because my alarm started going off. That was my dad's gonna call in 15 to 20 minutes alarm.
No, I didn't hear that. Nope. Okay, so I don't know about the last game. I really didn't feel like Stats is in a bad position because, as far as I remember, and it's still kind of early in the morning. Maybe my memory's foggy. Like the Oracle didn't do very much until the later stages where I got like those 5 extra probe kills, and the War Prison didn't do very much. Like they were pretty even, except that Stats invested into a +1 upgrade in addition to everything else, and he thus fell behind about 10 army supply, which thus meant that his third base, got killed and so on and so forth, right? But he had those upgrades, and I felt like he should have been able to use them if they really were that good. But I mean, hesitant.
There's a lot of questions about upgrades in general for the matchup, and well, maybe chat is or isn't correct, and maybe we are or aren't correct in our own points of view on it. I think what I find really interesting though is through many different PvPs that we've seen over the last few days, the point is none of them have really gone to Blink Stalker Disruptor, which has been, I think, not just strong but stable. Like it's been a strategy that has worked since like the beginning of Legacy of the Void and is just as viable now this far into it.
It is, but it's like these, especially the Korean Protosses, I feel, have become masters of killing you before you have enough Disruptors. Because I do think Disruptors are the way to go late game after typical openers, non-target openers, like blah, blah, blah. Like, it's so hard to get there without being attacked and killed for it. So
that's true. Plus, we've actually been seeing, like, I really wish we'd see more of the Phoenix play that comes in to counter them. That's always my favorite thing when players are doing that.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool, too. Yeah, that's actually a really good answer as well. So it's another reason maybe not to. But that's why initially I was, like, kind of on board the Double Forge thing. And I was like, that's a cool idea. A lot of these games are going towards more Gateway versus Gateway armies with Immortals added in. And that upgrade could have been the big difference maker, but it didn't seem to be, right? And the Archons didn't seem to help very much either. As cool as they could have been, but oh well. Zest gets away with a much faster Nexus. This is a gateway, a single gateway Cybernetics Core Nexus, and if there's not like super early pressure, which there was not, then you just kind of get a boost here.
Yeah, Toy Councils end up timing out equally too, which is funny. Big thank you, by the way, to Ice Teats. It's almost like someone went for Ace Kate and just like was super foreign, so like Ace Kate, Ice Teat. Same thing. Thank you for the 7 months. And then, of course, Roughness 4. Thank you for the brand new sub. Glad to have you on board, man.
You can see Zest already having such a astounding lead due to his opener. He's behind a Warp Gate, sure, but Stats now plays down a Proxy Pylon. Doesn't have that many more gate. Like, I don't think he has any more. Yeah, it's 2-2 now, isn't it? Yeah. Zest just has 9 more probes, and it's gonna be like just saying na boo boo to Stats. Maybe Stats can get like a faster Immortal or faster Observer here. I guess he will get a faster Immortal, as Zest still is not going for his Robo. He goes for a Forge. But Zest got a good opportunity.
You know, I always love watching the hallucinated oracles coming in because it is kind of that: is the opponent gonna overreact or not to this?
It doesn't seem like too many Protosses overreact. Professional Protosses, it is. I would be freaking out. But there's always that chance. It's a full scout. Sentries can't do much to deny it.
Yeah. But even then, there's not really that much to scout this early on. I mean, it's good to confirm. Like, I guess it's weird to say it like that, because on one hand, like, Zest confirms that it's nothing weird, so he doesn't have to overreact or underreact. A couple extra gateways coming down, they're gonna have appropriate production, and this, to me, just looks like a pretty normal PvP so far. Differences being thirds, but the stats, you're actually in a very unique position. I think, like, main, like, 1 base versus 2 base, the difference can be, like, questionable. The 2nd base versus the 3rd base, though, is actually a dangerous zone, because you don't know that Stats isn't also going to put down like another 4 gateways after that hallucination dies. And to go over this 3rd could also just be like giving up 400 free resources.
Yeah, especially if it's already done, right? And then they attack. That could be dangerous. But Zest, I like this pylon that he's placed down. That would be the typical location of a early proxy pylon, or even a Warp Prism warping in to attack your 3rd.
Just, yeah, signaling that the attack's on the way alone is going to be worth it.
Zest has gotten leads in this game. The economy has been in his favor for some time. It's leveling off now as Zest stopped producing probes because Protoss don't really overmake probes to transfer to their third bases. They just start making probes as their base finishes, and that should start up, I guess, relatively soon. He's actually moving out, which might be the wrong thing to do. Well, it's going to turn into an awkward game now, right or wrong. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Somebody trying to ask about the prize pool for the Olimoleague, by the way. Go ahead and type !brackets in chat. All the information related to the prize pool, the distribution, etc. It's all at the top of the page.
So Stats gets advanced notice of Zest's army positioning. Zest still has no idea, but might be suspicious. Like, why was that third base not down, and why were the pylons killed so easily? So now he's running back home, but doesn't have a recall, and now he's gonna lose out on the ramp positioning. A single force field from Stats on the natural ramp means that Zest doesn't have a natural either, but he's not going.
This is pretty nasty. The force field dynamic here, though, does he get there in time? That's the big question. I mean, Blink's done?
Yeah, I guess Blink is done, so it would not have been worth it with a photon overcharge going in there, but it was scary.
It would still force him to blink, though, which is another problem altogether. Guard Shield's coming up. True. No hallucinations or anything weird with Guard Shields and force fields left to right. No. I think, though, this is a really interesting micro battle going on. You get the Warp Prism to help out, Blink on both sides, picks up some of those Stalkers, keeps them alive, and Stats actually takes the fight.
Well, Stats, we got that second Immortal in there a little bit faster.
Pick up out of Zest, saves the Immortal.
Yeah, it's a good thing, too, because the second Immortal was a little bit late to the party, but here it is. The barrier's already been popped. Got to save it. He might just be able to hold this off. Stats is his own Warp Prism, but it's not helping a micro.
Yeah, I was a little bit further away than it should have been. This sucks. But Stats, it's not just that the army was lost. Okay, yeah, he killed the third, and that's normally great. He doesn't walk away with enough to stop a counterattack, though. If Zest actually just goes all in with this, he's got a nice lead. Although I guess 4 pylons can help make up a small supply of army difference.
Yeah, that probably would have been enough. The game kind of equalizes again, they're actually, oddly enough, in a position that they were 3 minutes ago. Just 3 minutes later. So third bases do come down for both players this time. Stats doesn't hold off on it. Zest still had that economic bump. That means that he can start his +2. And that could be a difference maker if things continue to be very, very close. And Zest could also continue having the Immortal lead if he continued producing them, but his gas is going to those upgrades.
By the way, our most recent resub, they point out they got my name right in the first month, and it's just been getting worse and worse every month.
Oh, is it the first month? Oh, damn. Okay, well.
My bad, dude. I've given up on pronouncing names. I feel so bad about it too. I just can't do it. It's like algebra. I just can't do it.
They get a how to play for the Twitch Prime sub too. As we talk about subs.
Laughing at him, not with him. Feels bad, man. Feels bad, man. All right, attack's gonna come underway. Weird force fields actually on both sides of this make those Immortals have a very difficult time fighting, but Zest had some really good Warp Prism micro to show earlier, and maybe gonna show it again now. The Immortals remain pretty much unscathed.
I mean, he's sure he had the high ground, but he didn't have a Warp Prism. He didn't have Potent Overcharge. I'm not sure he's taking that fight, but it's still pretty even. Losses.
These are spicier scoops than journalism. And this is actually, for Zest, going to go very much in his favor. Yeah. He did knock out the Warp Prism, Stats that is, so, unfortunately, well, I guess Zest does one too, but the fact is, Night of Play can really easily reinforce. GG's get called. I was so wrong about my prediction for this series.
Wrecked, Rifkin.
I mean,
I was totally with you, man.
Don't get me wrong. I'm okay with being wrong when you have things play out like this. This wasn't something where Zest did 2 cannon rushes and 2 stats and it was over and boring and stupid. This was actually a really good PvP. This leads into now the prospects of a good finals too, because you've got Billowy, who, in my opinion, was the underdog for the top side of the bracket. I didn't expect him to beat Gumio. Didn't expect him to beat Alive. Finds himself now to fight against Zest. Billowy as well, because we were talking about them earlier, and we didn't really bring this up, but I want to really reiterate going into the series now. Billowy is a player who I will always say, in my mind, can beat any player in the game right now. He can beat Innovation. He can beat Beyond. But it is sometimes a coin toss on whether he will. I don't know what the problem is with his consistency of performance, but we've seen really inconsistent results out of Billowy. Sometimes amazing and sometimes not amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, I do need to note we are getting close to that time where I may have to take an abrupt AFK. So hopefully it will happen while the game's going on. So you just put the camera on Zombie Grub and we'll have no issues. But either way, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you soon.